Chosen one, listen to me. No, listen with your spirit, because something is shifting right now, and if you don't lean in, you'll miss it. For the first time in all the messages ever spoken through prophets, through dreams, through whispers in the night, God has said something he's never said before, and he didn't say it for the crowd. He said it for you. Yes, you. The one who's been holding on by a thread, wondering if heaven even notices. The one who smiles in public but cries when no one's watching. The one who's been waiting for a word that finally feels like it was written with your name in it. This is that word. And no, this isn't hype. This is holy. It's urgent. And it's personal. There's a reason this showed up on your screen right now. There's a reason your chest feels tight, your pulse is picking up, your eyes are watering, but you don't know why. Because something ancient in your soul recognizes the sound of home, and God is calling you back to it. But before I go any further, I need you to pause and honor this moment. Drop a 777 in the comments right now, not because it's a trend, but because it's a covenant. That number is heaven's seal of divine alignment, spiritual activation, and full surrender. When you type it, you're not just responding to a video, you're agreeing with your destiny. You're saying, yes, God, I hear you, I'm ready, do it in me. And while we're here, I want to pour out sincere thanks to every single soul who's supported this message through super thanks. You may never know how many lives you've touched, how many destinies you've helped realign just by giving. Whether it was a small seed or a large sacrifice, thank you. You are part of this divine ripple effect. Now, let me ask you this. Why does it feel like you've been getting signs all week, but you kept brushing them off as coincidence? Why have your dreams suddenly become more vivid, more symbolic, like someone's trying to reach you from beyond the veil? Because they are. And this moment, right here, is heaven's confirmation. This isn't just another spiritual video. This is a divine transmission. There is a warning inside it, but also a wild, beautiful promise. A promise so precise, so timely, so disruptive to the status quo that only the chosen will be able to carry it. You're not about to receive motivation. You're about to receive marching orders. You're not about to start a new chapter. You're stepping into an entirely new assignment. Your atmosphere is shifting, but your identity is too. This is the first time God has said it, and He chose to say it to you. So stay with me. Don't look away, because what I'm about to share next will explain everything that's been happening to you and everything that's coming next. God's chosen ones, first time God ever said something like this for you. Right now, in a moment suspended between heaven and earth, something unprecedented is unfolding. Not merely unusual, but cosmically singular. For the first time since the breath of Genesis was spoken over chaos, God is delivering a message unlike any ever uttered. Not through prophets clothed in sackcloth, not etched in ancient tablets, not encrypted in visions shared behind veils. This isn't a riddle for scholars, nor a metaphor for theologians. It is untamed. It is alive. And it is erupting directly into your reality. But what kind of message bypasses centuries of divine protocol and lands without filter into your soul? It's because you're not just part of the crowd. You've always known this. Even if no one ever named it, the stirring inside you has refused to die. Have you noticed how the same routine now feels foreign, like you've outgrown the shell of your old self? Why do you feel haunted by anticipation in rooms that used to feel safe? The answer is not psychological, it's spiritual. You've been marked, you've been set apart. Heaven has pierced through the noise, and this message is aimed at you. not because of what you've done, but because of who you were always meant to be. In the story of Gideon, the least of his tribe, hiding from enemies, God appeared not with sympathy, but with identity. The Lord is with you, mighty warrior. Judges 6:12. God didn't describe Gideon's reality. He declared Gideon's destiny. Do you feel like you've been hiding too, not from enemies, but from your own immensity? What if God's message isn't waiting for you to be ready, but is arriving because you already are, though you don't see it yet? This is not a metaphor, not a poetic mood. Something seismic is shifting in the unseen, a divine urgency vibrating through the frequencies of time. The moon in its fullness tonight is not just beautiful. It is resonating like a drum echoing across the heavens, looking for spirits that have been trained in silence. Can you sense the alignment, the unseen current moving beneath the surface of everything familiar? And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. This verse isn't distant history, it's right now. Because the war between light and shadow has reached a crescendo, and God is not raising tourists or philosophers. He's calling forth warriors, calibrated in pain, refined in silence, and you, yes you, are being handed the sword. But what will you do with it when it burns in your hand like a truth you can no longer ignore? Consider St. Joan of Arc, a teenage peasant girl who heard God's voice, defied empires and led armies. Her words still thunder. I am not afraid. I was born to do this. She was dismissed, doubted, condemned, yet immortalized in eternity, not for her perfection, but for her obedience. Could your courage ignite something eternal too? Or think of Isaiah, who saw the Lord high and exalted, and fell undone by his own inadequacy. And yet, when the divine voice asked, "Whom shall I send?" Isaiah didn't delay. He said, "Here I am, send me." Isaiah 6:8. Isn't that the cry echoing faintly inside your own chest now? Not long ago, in the dusty outskirts of a Moroccan village, a woman named Layla spent 14 years running a humble school with no electricity. Most dismissed her as naive. But during a pandemic, her graduates became the only literate health translators in the region, saving dozens of lives. She never sought significance. She just followed a pull she couldn't explain. Is it possible that your quiet persistence is about to become someone else's deliverance? Then there's a man named Daxton, a character few have ever heard of, but whose truth is etched into the walls of consequence. For years he labored unnoticed in a cold metal factory, creating parts for machines he didn't understand. Until one day, those very parts were traced to a satellite system that detected a tsunami before it reached land, saving thousands. Daxton never saw the waves, but the world changed because he didn't stop showing up. Are you willing to build in the dark what heaven plans to use in the light? Imagine the migration of geese, how they rise not by effort alone, but by catching invisible currents of air, lifting each other by pattern, timing, and instinct. You are being carried now by something unseen but exact. Your alignment with the divine isn't accidental, it's strategic, and it's irreversible. This is not mysticism, this is not exaggeration, this is the moment the veil is pulled back, and God, for the first time, speaks something so unrepeatable it can only be spoken once through your life. What happens if you ignore it? What happens if you say yes, because heaven right now is still holding its breath? 7 days. That's all. Not symbolic days, not poetic exaggeration, but an actual divinely encoded stretch of time where heaven is weaving new architecture into your reality. Can you feel the pressure in the air? Not the stress of your to-do list, but something deeper, as if the fabric of your inner world is shifting without asking your permission. Why does everything you once tolerated now feel suffocating? Why are your dreams sharper, your emotions rawer, Your timing, stranger, because this is not coincidence. This is convergence. God has activated a timeline shift, not by accident, but by intention. And you're not observing this shift. You're at the center of it. For 7 sacred days, a divine current will move through the earth like a secret river, invisible to the sleeping, but irresistible to the awakened. Those who are aligned, heart, mind, spirit, will feel themselves lifted not by willpower, but by gravity, pulling them toward their original assignment. Are you beginning to notice what used to exhaust you now just slips past like wind? In Acts 2, as the early believers gathered in an upper room, the Holy Spirit came like a rushing wind, not metaphor, wind. Tongues of fire appeared over their heads. They weren't expecting a moment that would redefine human history, but it came because they were aligned. Can you stay present these next 7 days, not waiting for a miracle, but recognizing you are the miracle in motion? For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. 2 Timothy 1:7. This shift isn't making you stronger, it's revealing you already are. That fear you thought was part of your personality, it's evaporating. The doubt that looped like background noise, replaced by clarity as ancient as Eden. You're not upgrading, you're remembering. Remember when Lazarus was called from the tomb. He didn't negotiate, he didn't ask for proof, he simply responded. Jesus didn't tell him to be worthy, he told him to come out. John 11:43. This week, heaven is saying the same to you. Come out of your old name, come out of delay, come out of numbness. But will you recognize the voice when it sounds like your own thoughts reawakening? A woman named Mireille, unknown to the world, lived in a quiet coastal town in southern France. For decades she suffered from debilitating illness and solitude, but 7 days after an unexpected dream about light wrapping around her spine, her body began to heal in stages. Within months, she was traveling across Europe teaching trauma release through breath and prayer. She never asked to be seen, she just responded when her spirit stood up inside her. And it's not just about healing, it's about rising. Dr. Miles Monroe, a renowned pastor and leadership expert, once said, "The wealthiest place in the world is the graveyard, because in it are buried dreams that were never fulfilled." His voice carried the fire of activation, waking up souls trapped in good intentions. What dreams inside you are waiting for just 7 days of alignment to resurrect? Meanwhile, in a corner of Nairobi, a boy named Amani had an odd gift. He could feel people's emotions like temperature. It scared his family, shamed him in school, but after a dream told him to stop hiding and start blessing, he began praying over strangers. He's now the reason an entire orphanage was rescued from closure, because one of those strangers was a lost donor looking for a sign. Could the thing that once made you too much be the very reason the world shifts? Have you watched a snake shedding its skin? It doesn't panic, doesn't cling to what no longer fits. It simply leans into the instinct that something bigger is waiting on the other side of surrender. These next 7 days will ask that of you. Are you willing to shed what the old you depended on, even if it means walking into territory with no map? This isn't hype. It's not esoteric fluff. This is a countdown, sacred and irreversible. It's why synchronicities have intensified, why the same numbers keep showing up, why your body feels electric some nights and hollow the next. These are not flukes, they are signals, and every one of them is marking a precise entry point into the you that's always been waiting. So don't miss this window. The next week is not just a shift in time, it's a holy convergence where the veil will thin, and the voice calling you won't shout, it will whisper like thunder. And when it ends, your old self, the version of you built in survival, masked in perfection, tangled in fear, will be gone. In its place will stand the version God always saw, forged not in ease but in fire. At this very moment, the full moon stands at the apex of its ancient cycle, radiating a frequency that once stirred prophets awake in the wilderness and parted seas at the appointed hour. But unlike then, now it's your turn. This isn't just about lunar beauty or astrological curiosity. This is a spiritual transmission encoded in light. The same gravitational pull that commands oceans is now whispering into your bones, calling you not just to observe, but to respond. Yet how many are letting this pass unnoticed, numbed by the noise of a distracted life? What happens when divine alignment knocks and no one answers? The tragedy isn't that the frequency isn't there, it's that too many are mistuned. This moon isn't passive, it's pulsing like a cosmic heart. It's carrying a vibration tailor-made for your transformation. But your soul, though hungry, is surrounded by static, guilt, shame, addiction to validation, loops of comparison. And like a sacred radio receiving celestial frequencies, your spirit can't catch the signal if it's wrapped in bitterness. Has your truth been drowned out by the voice of someone else's timeline? In 1 Kings 19, when Elijah ran into the cave, desperate and disillusioned, he expected God in the earthquake, the fire, the wind. But the Lord wasn't in any of them. He came in a still, small voice. 1 Kings 19:12. Are you listening for the loud while ignoring the sacred quiet? What if your greatest instruction is encoded in silence, waiting for you to clear space? You are energy, but not random, precise, intelligent, divine. The moon tonight, at its radiant zenith, isn't just illuminating the sky, it's speaking. Coded light is bathing the earth, carrying messages to those willing to detox the static and listen. Will you unplug from noise long enough to receive what heaven is now broadcasting? A woman named Aveline in the Scottish Highlands spent most of her life tending to sheep and living off-grid. No phone, no internet, just stars and scripture. One night during a harvest moon, she heard what she called a vibration that turned into vision. The next morning, she wrote a prayer that would be discovered years later and turned into a global anthem for peacemakers. Her voice became a movement, not because she was loud, but because she was positioned. Jesus said, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." Matthew 5:8. It is not intellect that discerns divine timing. It is purity of alignment. Could it be that your distractions are not simply bad habits, but veils, keeping you from the one encounter that changes everything? Bishop T.D. Jakes, a renowned preacher and cultural architect, once declared, "If you can't figure out your purpose, figure out your passion, for your passion will lead you right into your purpose." He spoke those words during a season when many were giving up, and his voice became thunder that revived millions. What if your passions aren't wild impulses, but breadcrumbs towards sacred destiny? And not far from the Andes Mountains, a man named Elias kept waking at 2:22 a.m. each night, hearing a sound he couldn't describe. He thought he was losing his mind, until during one full moon, he felt compelled to sing into the darkness. The notes came from nowhere. A hiker passing through recorded it, posted it online, and that song went on to calm refugee children halfway across the world. Elias didn't chase meaning. He aligned with a moment. Do you know how sunflowers behave when the sun disappears? They turn toward each other, sharing warmth and light as if remembering what direction life flows. That's what you're being invited to do. Not perform, not produce, but align with the energy that remembers who you were before you were wounded. This moon holds a once-in-generations frequency, not metaphor, literal shift. It will not wait, it will not repeat. If you miss this alignment, your destiny isn't cancelled, but it may be postponed. Because when Spirit sends the invitation and you don't RSVP, the banquet continues without you. Can you afford that delay? Let's be clear. This isn't for everyone. This message, this exact moment, is a royal dispatch for those marked by heaven's highlighter. You've felt it. The pull to simplify, to turn away from glittering distractions, to walk alone if needed. That's not rebellion. That's recalibration. It's not ego. It's assignment. God isn't looking for people with flawless resumes. He's looking for those who've been refined in obscurity, misunderstood, underestimated, rejected, but who never let the oil dry up in their lamps. You are one of them. You're not late. You're not lost. You're just finally aligned. You were never abandoned. Not once. You were being forged. In silence, in shadows, in seasons that looked like nothing was happening. But beneath the surface, foundations were being laid for something so rare that even heaven held its breath. Your delays were not denials. Your wounds weren't disqualifications. They were training grounds. Do you realize that every scar on your heart is now a seal of spiritual authority? That your pain was never pointless but prophetic? So here it is, the clearest message heaven has released in this generation. The call is not coming, it's already here. But will you answer it? No more postponing your voice. No more shrinking into the margins of your own life. You are not just a name in a crowd. You are a living key, and divine doors remain sealed until your yes is spoken aloud. What if heaven's movement is paused, not because God is late, but because you're still hesitating? What parts of you have gone silent, not from peace, but from fear? What if the world's current ache is waiting for your healing to echo? In the book of Esther, when the threat to her people grew unbearable, she didn't volunteer easily. She was terrified. But Mordecai's words were thunder. Who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Esther 4:14. Do you see it now? That your timing isn't random, that your positioning is intentional? What if you were born into this chaos because you carry what this moment requires? These are not ordinary days. Time is stretching and collapsing at once. Emotions feel wild, not because you're unstable, but because your spirit is trying to decode instructions being downloaded faster than ever before. This isn't stress. This is spiritual velocity. Like Elijah outrunning Ahab's chariots after fire fell from heaven, 1 Kings 18:46, you're being equipped for speed. Can your logic keep up with your calling? A woman named Isadora from Lisbon spent a decade grieving the death of a child. Silence became her sanctuary. But this year, during what she called a dream soaked in golden fire, she woke up speaking words she'd never heard before, in a language she didn't recognize. Those words, later identified as ancient Hebrew, became the foundation of a song translated and sung by survivors in Jerusalem. She had no plan, she only had obedience. Have you underestimated what your brokenness might become when offered without performance? Jesus said, "You are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hidden." Matthew 5:14. Not, should not, cannot. Your light is not decorative, it's disruptive. And the only way darkness wins is if you dim what heaven placed in you to blaze. What if your hesitation is costing others clarity? Dr. Bernice King, daughter of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and a powerful voice for justice, once said, "Some are waiting for a sign, but sometimes you are the sign." Her words remind us that destiny is not something we wait for. It's something we rise into. Could your presence in the right place be the answer to someone else's silent prayer? Then there's Rafael, a fisherman in southern Chile, whose story is quietly legendary. After surviving a brutal sea storm, he began sketching out visions he saw in the waves. One image, of hands holding back waters, was discovered by a visiting pastor who used it as the emblem for a national disaster relief mission. Raphael never sought a spotlight. He just captured what he saw, and the image became a banner of hope. Watch the hawk in full flight. It doesn't flap frantically. It catches the wind with poise and lets the air do the lifting. That's what's happening now. You're not being asked to strive. You're being asked to surrender into the momentum already building beneath you. But will you trust that you were made for altitude? Everything is accelerating. What once took a decade will now take weeks. What once crawled will now soar. Relationships, revelations, awakenings, all arriving in divine fast forward. You've been feeling off balance because walking is no longer your mode. You were made to fly. And like Peter stepping onto water, it's only impossible until you stop calculating and start moving. Matthew 14:29. God is not launching the qualified, He's qualifying the launched. And your activation isn't future tense, it's now. The trembling you feel isn't weakness, it's spiritual ignition. This isn't a phase. It's a once-in-a-lifetime convergence, a sequence that began before you were born, finally reaching ignition. Don't retreat, don't delay. Let go of the weight, let the current take you. This is not the moment to be logical. This is the moment to be light. They're telling you it's a virus, that it's biological, invisible, unstoppable, that what's sweeping through streets, cities, families is merely a medical phenomenon. But beneath that narrative lies a far more insidious invasion. What's truly spreading isn't confined to cells or lungs. It's moving through minds, hijacking spirits, sedating hearts. It's not just sickness, it's submission. And while the headlines scream of symptoms, heaven is whispering of allegiance. What if this isn't just a test of public health, but a war over your worship? Look again. Fear has become currency, confusion a daily diet. Dependency on systems, not on spirit, is the new norm. Why are so many bowing to men with microphones and forgetting the whisper of the Almighty? The deeper contagion is not in the air, it's in the soul. This is not about pandemics. This is about power, the kind that subtly convinces you to surrender what was never theirs to claim, your spiritual sovereignty. Can you still hear God when the world is shouting louder than ever? It's written in Daniel 3, when the furnace was lit and the music played, everyone bowed except three. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused to surrender to the golden image of the king, and in their defiance, God didn't keep them from the fire. He entered it with them. Daniel 3:25. Could it be that your resistance is not rebellion, but revelation, that heaven walks closest with those who won't kneel to fear? While society spirals into chaos, the chosen ones, you, are being summoned into sacred stillness. You are not being called to argue theology or defend opinions. You're being called to anchor reality in unshakable truth. The virus may touch bodies, but spiritual apathy devours nations. Have you noticed the world forgetting who they are, children of light, and instead chasing crowns made of likes, titles, and trends? When Aaron crafted the golden calf, the people weren't looking for evil. They were looking for something visible to worship, Exodus 32:1-4. But in doing so, they traded revelation for representation. What golden calves have replaced God's voice in your life? What voices have become louder than the one who designed your destiny? Darren, a school janitor in Ohio, said nothing when lockdowns hit, but he started writing scriptures on post-it notes and sticking them inside students' lockers. Months later, one of those students admitted the verse saved her from taking her life. Darren's job wasn't ministry, but his presence became medicine. Could it be that your unnoticed faithfulness is the antidote someone else has been praying for? Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. This transformation isn't theory, it's happening now, and it's burning through layers of who you pretended to be, to awaken who you've always been. Have you felt it lately? That inexplicable combination of exhaustion, longing, fire, and divine flow. That's not burnout, that's spiritual combustion. Your cells are catching up to your soul. Katherine Johnson, the brilliant mathematician behind NASA's orbital mechanics, said, "Like what you do, and then you will do your best." But she didn't just like math. She was called to precision. Her excellence pierced through racial and gender barriers because it aligned with something higher. She didn't seek glory. She carried light into systems that feared it. Is your gift meant to shine where others hide? Across the hills of Lebanon, a woman named Rania began gathering children in her backyard during crisis times. She brought no curriculum, only a candle and stories from her grandmother. Over time, those evenings became a circle of healing, a place where trauma broke and laughter returned. She was never ordained. She was simply obedient. Isn't that all God asks? Watch how rivers carve through stone, not by force, but by flow. That's you. You were not sent to push against the world, but to carry a frequency so consistent it reshapes terrain without apology. You are the current. You are the shift. God is not looking for passive consumers of spiritual content. He's calling those who will embody the cure. You are not here to mimic light. You are the light. And while the world runs after solutions, you are becoming the solution. Have you realized yet that what you thought was weakness, your sensitivity, your fatigue, your fire, is actually sacred calibration? The pressure in your body, the racing of your heart, the ache in your chest. These are not symptoms of illness. They are signs of awakening. Your DNA is being retuned to the sound of heaven. Every cell remembers why it was made. And your spirit is burning hotter because your mission is no longer optional. The soul cannot stay silent when God increases the volume of purpose. The hunger rising inside you isn't about food or success or validation. It's the ache for truth, raw, undiluted truth. It's the craving for alignment so clean it burns. Your old life no longer satisfies because it was never meant to feed the version of you that's emerging. And that fire you've been feeling in your chest, that's not anxiety. That's divine combustion. That's what it feels like when God breathes straight into your bones and says, "Now." You're not crumbling, you're cracking open. Can you feel it? That sacred pressure. The discomfort that's not pain but passage. What if the tightness in your chest isn't a breakdown, but the birth canal of your transformation? Are you willing to trust what doesn't feel logical but is deeply spiritual? When Jacob wrestled with the angel at Peniel, he walked away limping, but blessed. Genesis 32:24-30. He wasn't being punished, he was being renamed. Could it be that the limp you've been carrying lately is the signature of your destiny? What if your exhaustion is the echo of heaven restructuring your identity? Now is the time to honor your symptoms, not fear them. Hydrate, breathe, speak life into the body that is hosting your rebirth. Rest, yes, but don't retreat. You are in a growth spurt of the soul, and like gold in fire, this heat is not here to destroy you. It's here to reveal your purity. Will you lean into it, even when it feels unbearable? The moon right now doesn't just glow, it charges the atmosphere. This full moon portal isn't spiritual fluff, it's an encoded season. God often uses nature to announce new beginnings. Just as he used a burning bush to summon Moses, Exodus 3:2, he is now using frequencies in light and vibration to call forth his modern-day deliverers. Are you tuned in? Are you still enough to hear what's being whispered beneath the noise? Gabriel, a retired violinist in Prague, began hearing music in his sleep during a full moon cycle. At first, he ignored it, but then he started transcribing the melodies. Weeks later, his music became the score for a film about grief and healing. It wasn't ambition, it was obedience. Could the inspiration knocking at your heart be part of a divine assignment? You can't receive this next chapter by accident. The frequency is not passive, it's interactive. You must rise to meet it. Set your intentions, cleanse your space, speak your goals aloud, dance beneath the moonlight, fast, pray, write, walk barefoot in nature, breathe in gratitude like oxygen. Why? Because heaven is scanning the earth for those who are awake enough to say yes, not someday. Now, draw near to God, and He will draw near to you. James 4:8. This is not about being perfect, it's about being present. But presence requires purity, fear, jealousy, bitterness, gossip. These are not just emotions, they are frequency blockers. They cloud your reception. And right now, God is transmitting destiny with precision. Will your signal be clear or cluttered? Pastor Sarah Jakes Roberts once said, "God is not intimidated by your brokenness." And she's right. Your worthiness was never in question. The only thing in question is your readiness. Are you still begging for permission, or are you finally ready to possess what's already yours? Across a mountain village in northern Japan, a young woman named Akiko began planting seeds with handwritten prayers in each hole. The locals thought she was odd, but years later, during a national drought, her garden bloomed with supernatural consistency. Scientists couldn't explain it, but she did. "I prayed with my whole body," she said. "Are your prayers just words, or are they movement? Look at how the butterfly emerges. It doesn't climb out with effort. It dissolves in the dark and is restructured by surrender. That's what's happening now. You are not being punished. You're being purified. The separation you've been experiencing isn't rejection. It's refinement. People may be fading from your life, and places that once felt like home now feel foreign. That's not abandonment. That's alignment. Not everyone can go where God is taking you. And that's not cruelty. That's clarity. Will you mourn what's leaving or celebrate what's arriving? This is the great sorting, not by status but by spirit. God is marking His leaders, not the loudest, not the most visible, but the most faithful. Those who choose integrity behind closed doors. Those who say yes to truth when it costs them comfort. Those who move with quiet conviction while the world screams for attention. You're not losing people. You're shedding what cannot carry the weight of your calling. You are not being punished. You are being positioned. And the fire you feel inside, that's God chiseling you into something indestructible. You were never built to blend in. Your existence disrupts patterns, breaks molds, and pierces illusions. You are the interruption the world didn't see coming. The sacred glitch in the matrix, the divine crack in a system designed to lull souls to sleep. And now, more than ever, you must own it with unwavering conviction. God didn't assign you truth just to have you whisper it in empty rooms. In a culture obsessed with image, your authenticity is rebellion. Your integrity is a revolution. But can you stand tall when applause turns to silence? You may find yourself walking alone, not because you're unworthy of company, but because your calling requires uncluttered ground. What if the isolation isn't punishment, but preparation? What if your solitude is the soil where sacred clarity begins to bloom? Do you recognize that sensation when your voice deepens with knowing? When decisions feel like instinct instead of anxiety? That's not coincidence, that's alignment. And you're stepping into it not by chance, but by orchestration from realms unseen. The spiritual fog is lifting. The veil between dimensions is thinner than ever. You are hearing sharper, feeling deeper, knowing faster. This isn't hustle energy, this is holy energy. You're not chasing anymore. You're attracting, not because of charisma, but because of resonance. Can you accept that you are becoming a magnet for everything your prayers whispered in the dark? When the Apostle Paul was struck blind on the road to Damascus, it looked like a setback. But in that blindness, he received the blueprint of his mission. Acts 9:3-9. What feels like confusion in your life may actually be divine recalibration. What if your breakdown is your breakthrough in disguise? People, ideas, opportunities, love, they're all flowing toward you now, but they aren't chasing the version of you that performed or pretended. They are seeking the radiant frequency of your truth. Can you handle being fully seen? Can you let the masks fall, even if it means being misunderstood? The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. John 1:5. You are glowing now, and your radiance is making shadows tremble. The attacks you've been feeling lately, the doubt projected onto you, that's not failure. That's feedback. Heaven is confirming that your glow is no longer optional, and neither is your rise. Fatima, a poet from Morocco, was once told her words were too intense, too spiritual, too raw. For years she self-censored, but one night she read her uncensored truth at a small cafe. A tourist translated her lines into German, and months later her poem became the centerpiece at a peace summit in Berlin. She never forced her moment. She simply stopped shrinking. What are you holding back that the world desperately needs? God told Jeremiah, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I set you apart." Jeremiah 1:5. You were never meant to be a replica. You were chosen to be a rupture, a divine interruption to cycles that needed breaking. Have you been trying to dim what heaven is demanding you to display? Oprah Winfrey once said, "When you know who you are, you don't need to prove anything to anyone." Her journey wasn't void of ridicule, it was forged by it. She became luminous not by chasing favor, but by embodying truth. Could it be that the very thing you're being mocked for is the part of you that heaven anointed? In a coastal town in Iceland, a woman named Elizabeth ran a silent tea house where guests were asked not to speak. She believed silence was medicine. One guest, grieving and skeptical, came in to escape a storm. He left weeping changed. He later wrote, "Her silence healed me louder than 1,000 words." Elizabeth never raised her voice, but her energy did the talking. What is your presence saying even when you say nothing? Look at a volcano just before eruption. Still, majestic, unshaken. No one sees the pressure building inside, but the shift is inevitable. That's you right now. You're carrying energy too vast to be contained by familiarity. And not everyone will understand it. That's okay. Their discomfort is not your call to dim. It's their invitation to awaken. You're not entering a chapter. You're stepping into a river, fast, wild, holy. But rivers don't apologize for their current. Neither should you. Let yourself be carried by divine rhythm. Stop trying to explain your frequency to those who are still dialed into fear. You are the mirror, and mirrors are rarely welcomed by those avoiding their own reflection. Some will question your motives. Others will label your growth as arrogance. That's not rejection. It's revelation. You are glowing now, and not everyone is ready to see what your light exposes. Let them misunderstand. Let them judge. But don't you dare dim. Don't shrink your flame to keep others warm. Don't hush your truth just because it unsettles those committed to illusion. You weren't made to dim. You were made to blaze. Your presence was sculpted in fire, and your light doesn't need permission to burn. Can you see what's happening around you? Why is it that the moment you step into your power, resistance increases? Why do their whispers get louder just as your soul begins to sing? Because the closer you get to divine alignment, the more the noise rises. But noise is not threat, it's confirmation. The attacks are proof that something inside you is activating frequencies that darkness cannot decipher. You are not here to retaliate, you are here to radiate. Let their judgment deepen your humility. Let their gossip polish your grace. Let their doubt fuel your discipline. What if every enemy is just an unwilling witness to your awakening? No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Isaiah 54:17. This promise isn't metaphor, it's strategy. Heaven isn't just behind you. Heaven is your armor. You've been sent to be a signal in a generation drowning in signals with no soul. And in a world reaching for influencers and microphones, God is raising those whose power isn't in their platform, but in their presence. Are you willing to lead without applause? You don't need a title. Your clarity is your credential. Your alignment is your authority. When you walk into a room, you don't have to introduce yourself. Your frequency speaks first. When you release truth, it doesn't just inform, it transforms. When you operate from spirit, heaven responds. And miracles, they're not reserved for the elite. They flow through the obedient. Could it be that the miracles you're waiting to witness are waiting on your courage? When Deborah rose as a judge in Israel, she didn't ask permission. She was a wife, a prophetess, a warrior, and when no man would lead, she did. Judges 4:4-10. Her authority didn't come from status, but from surrender. What if you are the Deborah of your generation, holding strategies not for applause, but for alignment? Michaela, a young barista in Melbourne, started scribbling encouraging phrases on coffee cup sleeves, quietly, anonymously. A video of one of her messages went viral. The world may forget your name, but heaven never has. That cup landed in the hands of a grieving widow who had just asked God for a sign. Michaela didn't preach, she poured. What small act of obedience could become someone else's divine interruption? When the foundations are being destroyed, what can the righteous do? Psalm 11:3. The answer is simple: rise. When the old scripts collapse, it's not disaster, it's divine editing. You weren't built to follow familiar paths. You were made to pioneer new ones. The life that's unraveling isn't a mistake. It's a holy undoing. Can you bless the chaos, knowing it's construction in disguise? Sir Ken Robinson, educational visionary and author, once said, "If you're not prepared to be wrong, you'll never come up with anything original." His legacy wasn't built on fear, but on sacred disruption. He dared to challenge systems, not for rebellion's sake, but for restoration. Could your discomfort be the first sign that you're finally living from your true blueprint? In a quiet town near the Canadian border, a man named Elias spent years carving wood by hand. No shop, no online store, just trees and time. He believed his hands heard from God. One sculpture, a lion with wings, ended up on the desk of a global non-profit leader who later used it as the emblem for a justice campaign. Elias never planned to be seen, he just stayed aligned. Could it be that what you build in silence becomes a symbol for nations? You are not in transition, you are in transformation, and transformation doesn't ask for comfort, it asks for surrender. Watch how a snake sheds its skin, slowly, silently, inevitably. It doesn't panic, it doesn't hold on. It allows the old layer to fall so the new can breathe. What are you still clinging to that your soul has already outgrown? In the next 7 days, expect divine interruptions. People may exit, plans may crumble. But what if all of that isn't loss, it's leverage? What if your breakdown is really a blueprint, revealing what was never built on truth? Are you willing to welcome the plot twist? Don't fight the shift. Don't mourn the noise. Flow with the current, even when it feels like chaos. God is writing a new script. And the wildest part, you're becoming everything you once feared was too good to be true. You've been feeling strange lately, haven't you? Like your entire being is under construction, wired but weary, glowing one moment and weeping the next. A hunger that isn't physical, a tiredness that sleep doesn't touch. You are not malfunctioning, you are transforming. What you're experiencing isn't dysfunction, it's divine design. This is what it looks like when a soul steps into frequency faster than the body is used to. Your nervous system is stretching. Your breath is recalibrating. Your spirit is expanding. Could this discomfort be proof that you're finally becoming the version of yourself you were born to remember? What if the exhaustion isn't depletion, but download? What if the ache in your chest isn't anxiety, but the tremble of new power activating your heart space? You're not falling apart. You're shedding. Think of it like a caterpillar dissolving completely into mush before becoming a butterfly. You are in the sacred in-between, no longer what you were, but not yet what you're becoming. Will you honor this process, even when it feels like too much? When Jesus took Peter, James, and John up the mountain, he didn't just pray, he transfigured. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became light. Matthew 17:2. What if your weirdness right now is the prelude to radiance? What if the tremors in your soul are preparing you for your own mountaintop moment? These waves you feel pulsing through your system, they aren't random. They're sacred signals. Your body is being initiated into holding more light, more revelation, more authority. Let the shaking rise. Let the emotions move through. Don't suppress. Don't analyze. Don't medicate the mystery. Let the emergence complete itself. Because when the dust settles, you won't just feel different, you'll be different. You'll look at the old version of you and wonder how you ever fit inside such a small container. There's a portal open right now, not symbolic, not imaginary, but tangible in the spirit. It's a collision point, and it's time sensitive. It's the kind of window that shifts lifetimes. But you must choose. Are you willing to step forward without proof? Can you move before you're certain, trusting that your readiness has already been seen from above? When Moses stood before the burning bush, he wasn't given a map, he was given a moment. Exodus 3:2-12. A divine appointment that didn't make sense, yet demanded obedience. Could this week be your bush on fire moment? A disruption disguised as destiny? In the Philippines, a woman named Talia, a school principal, began waking at 3:33 a.m. with a clear inner voice saying only, "Prepare." She started writing down her ideas in the dark. Within months, she implemented a new educational model that tripled literacy rates in rural areas. She never had a strategy, just surrender. What if your instructions are already encoded inside your restlessness? Author and mystic Clarissa Pinkola Estes once said, "We are all filled with a longing for the wild, for what is real." Her work taught millions to trust their inner alchemy, and like her, your longing is not dysfunction. It's guidance. Could it be that your craving for more is proof that your soul is nearing its breakthrough? Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. This isn't theoretical, it's physiological. Your neurons are being rewired to host higher clarity. Your thoughts are becoming highways for the divine. But every thought you entertain either prepares you or prevents you from stepping into the next octave of your purpose. What beliefs are you still carrying that are too small for the future waiting at your doorstep? You're not waiting on destiny. Destiny is waiting on your decision. This week is not ordinary. It is encoded. Every prayer you've whispered, every tear you've shed, every storm you've survived has led to this convergence. Are you ready to say out loud what your soul has been screaming silently for years? Speak it now. I am ready. Release the past, not because it was bad, but because it's no longer yours. Embrace the unknown, not because it's safe, but because it's sacred. Trust the rising current. Trust the ache. Trust the burning. This is not chaos. This is calibration. A glacier doesn't melt all at once. It breaks, cracks, groans, then surrenders. And beneath its collapse, new rivers are born. That's you. Your old structure is making room for flow. You're not stepping into another week. You're stepping into a sacred sequence, a divine rewrite, a cosmic rebirth. And the twist? You don't just become who you hope to be. You become what you were afraid was never possible. You may feel as though the world is resting heavy on your shoulders, your body weary, your mind foggy, your emotions like ocean waves crashing against invisible cliffs. But this is not collapse, it's contraction. This is not the end, it's the final pressure before the breakthrough. What if the heaviness you feel isn't failure, but the friction of transformation? What if your soul is expanding faster than your body knows how to process? Every chosen vessel is refined before being revealed. Every elevation demands endurance. And what you're sensing now, that unshakable tension in your chest, the weight behind your eyes, the strange tremors in your body, it's not a dysfunction. It's divine preparation. You're not breaking down, you're breaking open, and the light is already leaking through the cracks. Think of Esther, silent and hidden in a foreign palace, trembling in the tension of knowing her moment had arrived. She didn't feel ready, but the survival of her people was tied to her courage. Esther 4:13-14. What if your weariness is evidence that the magnitude of your assignment is closer than you think? Are you mislabeling labor pains as breakdown? This isn't burnout, it's birthing. You are carrying the weight of something sacred. That ache in your bones isn't weakness, it's legacy. So let the tears come. Let the laughter erupt. Let the contradictions dance in you like thunderclouds and lightning bolts. That's not chaos. That's convergence. You may find yourself waking in the middle of the night with your heart racing. You may feel moments of time bending, conversations becoming portals, seconds feeling like hours, dreams bleeding into daylight. This isn't fantasy. This is frequency. You've entered a divine corridor where time folds and destiny accelerates. Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. Isaiah 40:31. You're not being stalled. You're being synchronized with a speed only heaven can authorize. And what once seemed far is rushing toward you like a river released from a dam. Are you ready to receive what you stopped praying for because it felt too delayed? In Uganda, a young boy named Emmanuel began sketching images in the dirt during church services. At first, people thought he was distracted, but a visitor noticed his symbols matched ancient Aramaic letters. His village later became the site of a school for spiritual language studies, built around Emmanuel's gift. He wasn't disobedient, he was attuned. Could your distractions be divine downloads you've misunderstood? Dr. Jill Boulter Taylor, a Harvard-trained neuroanatomist, famously experienced a stroke that silenced the logical half of her brain. In that stillness, she felt one with God. I had found nirvana, she said. Her brain shut down, but her spirit awakened. Her recovery wasn't just medical, it was mystical. What if your disorientation isn't disorder, but the rewiring of your entire inner world? The early church gathered in one accord when the Spirit fell like fire. Acts 2:1-4. It didn't happen in motion, it happened in presence. Right now, your nervous system is syncing with your assignment. Your cells are learning to hold revelation without short-circuiting. This is a calibration of spirit, mind, and flesh. Will you stay alert in the waiting? This is the storm before your elevation. And storms aren't punishments, they are passages. The thunder you feel isn't a threat. It's a trumpet. Time is moving differently now. You may feel like you're surfing something invisible. That's because you are. When spirit moves faster than logic, the only option is surrender. Watch how hummingbirds move, impossibly fast, yet in full control. They don't race, they align. You are being taught to live at light speed without losing clarity. This isn't adrenaline, it's anointing. But can you remain calm in divine acceleration? Every lesson you were meant to learn in a year is now arriving in a week. Every truth you avoided is now demanding your attention. Every seed you planted, seen and unseen, is suddenly sprouting. But with this acceleration comes responsibility. You must stay vigilant. You must stay clean. Distractions that used to entertain now in danger. Patterns that once comforted now constrict. Are you willing to release what no longer moves in rhythm with your next season? You will be invited into sacred conversations, ones you didn't plan but have waited lifetimes to speak. You will meet people who feel familiar, as if written into your soul before time began. You will encounter signs, synchronicities, and divine coincidences so exact they'll feel like messages hidden in plain sight. Don't dismiss them, don't overthink them, just flow. See, I'm doing a new thing, now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19. The new thing is not just around you, it's in you, and it's no longer waiting, it's arriving. This isn't just a week. This is a spiritual acceleration chamber, a corridor between who you were and who you were prophesied to become. Let go of the clock. Let go of your need to understand. Let go of fear that whispers, too much, too fast. You were built for this. Your future isn't someday, it's now. Something unusual is about to happen. Not dramatic, not visible, but unmistakably real. One morning, you'll rise and realize the weight is gone. The sadness you carried like a second skin will no longer sting. The doubts won't echo as loud. The old fear-based voices in your mind will have faded into whispers. And you'll ask, what changed? But nothing around you will look different. Because the shift didn't come from outside, it came from within. You let go. You stopped clutching old identities, inherited shame, outdated truths. And the release was so deep, your body finally exhaled. Could it be that your freedom was always waiting for your permission? The ache in your back, the tingling in your arms, the fatigue that hits you mid-sentence. They aren't signs of weakness, they are sacred signals. Your soul has been detoxing not just from food, but from memory, from emotional debris passed down through generations, from beliefs you never agreed to, but absorbed like breath. This is not illness, this is clearing. Your body is purging density to make room for light. Can you allow the ache without labeling it wrong? Remember the woman with the issue of blood who touched the hem of Jesus' garment? She didn't scream. She didn't ask. She reached and healing flowed. Luke 8:43-48. Her miracle wasn't loud, it was aligned. What if your healing doesn't require effort but frequency? In the next few days, you might feel dreamy, floaty, even untethered. Not because you're escaping, but because you're arriving into higher awareness, into 5D divine flow. Don't try to fix it. Don't rush to ground it. Your spirit has been waiting lifetimes for this release. You're not drifting, you're ascending. And the old rules don't apply here. You're not becoming someone else. You're returning to who you were before the world taught you to shrink. That peace rising in your chest, that clarity you can't quite explain, that unshakable knowing, even in the middle of the unknown. That's your rebirth. You are being unchained, unburdened, unprogrammed. And when the last remnant of the old you dissolves, what remains will feel eternal. What if this isn't the end of a chapter, but the beginning of the real you? Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. 2 Corinthians 3:17. This freedom isn't a mood. It's not forced positivity. It's not escape. It's revelation. It's stepping into soul authenticity so powerful that even your ancestors sigh with relief. Do you realize how many lifetimes longed for what you're now embodying? Isaiah, a boy in Nigeria, began writing down strings of numbers he kept seeing in dreams. 3:33, 11:11, 7:7. His mother thought little of it until a visiting missionary noticed the numbers matched biblical chapter references that, when read in order, formed a prophetic message. Isaiah didn't try to be spiritual, he simply didn't ignore the signs. Are you watching closely enough to recognize the whispers from heaven? Steve Harvey, beloved comedian and speaker, once shared how he kept seeing 222 on clocks and documents for years before his breakthrough. He later called it a divine code and said that learning to trust unexplainable signs changed everything. Could your repeated numbers be more than coincidence? Could they be breadcrumb trails from angels? God doesn't always shout. Sometimes he encodes. A glance at a receipt, a license plate, a lyric on the radio that pierces you mid-drive. These are not random. They are woven. Every synchronicity is a pulse from the eternal, a wink from the Spirit. Call to me and I will answer you and tell you great and unsearchable things you do not know. Jeremiah 33:3. What if the answers you seek have already been speaking, not in language, but in alignment? Nature speaks too. Monarch butterflies before migration gather in silence, feeling an invisible cue that it's time to rise. They don't rush, they respond. You are feeling the same pull, a silent urgency to move, to follow the lighted path, even when you can't see where it leads. Are you willing to trust what you can't yet name? In a small town in Greece, a woman named Thalia began keeping a notebook of every odd phrase or symbol she encountered. Numbers, dreams, overheard conversations. Years later, that notebook became a blueprint for her spiritual center, now guiding thousands through awakening. She never waited for approval. She listened and wrote and trusted. So start writing. Speak what you hear. Follow what feels aligned. Your path is being revealed, one sacred symbol at a time. Don't dismiss the whispers. Don't ignore the numbers. Don't laugh off the dreams. What if each one is part of a map you didn't know you needed? The veil is thinning. The guides are speaking. Your ancestors are closer than ever. The time for doubt has passed. You're not being toyed with. You're being led. And this time, if you listen, if you follow, if you trust, you'll arrive at something more beautiful than you thought possible. The fire is coming, not to destroy, but to awaken. It will arrive like a sudden warmth in your chest, a spark dancing down your spine, a subtle quiver in your fingertips. It won't feel like fear. It will feel like purpose finally breaking through your bones. This isn't panic. This isn't sickness. This is ignition. The divine flame that has waited in silence for generations is now stepping forward. Can you feel it humming beneath your ribs? That undeniable sense that something ancient inside you is saying, it's time. You've waited patiently. You've walked cold corridors of silence and doubt. But God is not whispering anymore. He's roaring inside your ribcage. You are no longer being nudged. You are being set ablaze. And with that fire will come an intensity you cannot manage, only surrender to. You'll feel more alive, more charged, more full of holy urgency than you've ever known. But are you ready to burn with a flame that will not be tamed? This fire is not chaotic. It is catalytic. You'll feel boldness rise without warning. Words will leap from your mouth with surprising clarity. Your hands will ache to build, your spirit to serve, your mind to dream in technicolor. Is this madness? Number. This is the moment when your spirit reclaims leadership over your personality, when the real you, the chosen, the sealed, the called, finally steps into full expression. When Jeremiah tried to hold back his words, he confessed, "His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot." Jeremiah 29. What if your fire isn't optional? What if suppressing it is what caused the sadness all along? You might find yourself crying for no reason, laughing mid-prayer, shouting in the middle of a quiet moment. Don't judge it. Don't run. This is emotional purging. The soul has its own tides. These waves you're riding are not regressions. The their release. Every tear is sacred water. Every tremble is truth surfacing. For years you've carried guilt, betrayal, ancestral pain, hidden shame, layered into your energy like invisible armor. And now, under the pressure of divine fire, it's melting. When David danced before the Ark of the Covenant, he didn't care who was watching. He became undignified in the eyes of man, but holy in the sight of heaven. 2 Samuel 6:14-22. Are you willing to move your body like healing depends on it? Are you willing to shout, cry, spin, groan, if it means clearing what has haunted your bloodline? In Argentina, a woman named Marisol once walked nightly through her village with no destination. She said she felt something pulling energy from her spine. One night she collapsed in the street, weeping uncontrollably. A neighbor helped her inside. That moment, though strange, led to months of physical and emotional purging, and she now runs a home for women healing from trauma. What if the breakdown you're fearing is the portal to a life you were born to carry? Let the fire rise. Let it burn away your hesitation, your need for approval, your fear of being too much. This fire will not consume you. It will consume only what was never yours to carry. You are not meant to cool down anymore. You are meant to glow. Even Jesus, in his final moments before his greatest breakthrough, was in agony, sweating blood in Gethsemane. Luke 22:44. The fire of purpose burns most fiercely right before the shift. What if your restlessness is not weakness, but sacred combustion? Beyoncé, during her Coachella performance, said in a documentary, "I had to rebuild myself, mind, body, and spirit." Her fire wasn't aesthetic, it was anchored in identity. Her glow came from grief, from labor, from the courage to rise, reborn. Could your fire be the same, built not in spotlight, but in surrender? A forest after a wildfire doesn't die, it regenerates. Seeds buried deep crack open in the heat. New life springs from the ashes. That's you now. Your soul has reached the temperature of transformation. But will you let the heat finish its work? So write your thoughts, shout your grief, dance in your living room, lay flat on the floor. Let your body express what your words cannot articulate, because when it's done, you won't just feel better, you'll be new. This is not emotional chaos. This is soul surgery. And when it's complete, you'll emerge lighter, clearer, and more spiritually aligned than you've ever been. And your outer world, watch how it shifts. Because when the inside is purified, heaven rushes in to match it. People change, doors open, time bends. Life becomes less a struggle and more a song. Will you trust the heat long enough to let the melody return? You are not the fire's victim, you are its carrier, and when the smoke clears, the earth will know you by your light. A strange pull is beginning to surface, but it's not confusion, it's remembering. As you walk into spaces that feel oddly familiar, as you speak with strangers who stir something ancient in your soul, you're not imagining it. You're not off. You're waking up. That sense of déjà vu, it's not just repetition, it's recognition. Your soul has walked these crossroads before, in lifetimes and realms beyond logic. And now, the veil is lifting. The memories are returning. Do you feel it? That inner ache that says, I've been here before, but this time something's different. You're not broken. You're recalling. Your spirit is whispering, you were prepared for this. Why do you think certain phrases echo so deeply inside, as if they've been carved into your bones long before this body? Why do you think some dreams feel more real than your waking hours? What if your current path is not new but chosen, long ago in sacred alignment with your calling? Daniel, the prophet, once dreamed dreams and saw visions that troubled him deeply. Images no one else understood, yet they were divine messages. Daniel 7:1-28. Could the vivid images haunting your sleep be encoded wisdom, hidden within you for this very hour? What if your night visions are not strange but sacred, not figments but fragments of a larger mission now reactivating? In the coming days, you may feel like time is folding. You'll hear conversations that feel scripted, glimpse symbols that stir your spine. The veil between past and present, between human and holy, is now thinner than ever. Don't brush these moments off. This is not nostalgia. This is destiny reminding you that it never forgot. A young man in Peru named Mateo once described hearing music in his dreams, music he had never heard but could hum perfectly the next morning. He started writing it down, melody after melody. Later, researchers from a sound therapy institute discovered that his music matched the frequency patterns used in ancient temple rituals, long lost to modern history. Could it be that your memories are not yours alone, but echoes from a mission larger than any single lifetime? These are not hallucinations. These are activations. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, God said to Jeremiah, Jeremiah 1:5. What if you're not discovering your path? You're remembering it. Oprah Winfrey, speaking to a graduating class, once said, "Your calling is not just what you do, it's who you are." She shared how she never chased fame. She followed alignment, and everything that was meant for her found her. Once she stopped striving and started surrendering. Could it be that your striving is blocking the very grace trying to reach you? The energy you carry now is magnetic, not because you've pushed harder, but because you've cleared the noise. You used to chase attention, validation, connection, but chasing is exhausting. And now, something inside you is choosing stillness, because stillness attracts what chaos repels. Can you allow what's meant for you to find you without forcing it? Even Jesus in the wilderness did not strive to prove himself. He remained aligned, refusing to turn stones into bread just to satisfy a challenge. Matthew 4:1-11. Alignment, not approval, is where true power flows. Could your discipline be the door to your divine timing? In nature, sunflowers don't chase the sun. They turn to it naturally, rhythmically, by design. They align, and because of that, they thrive. The same energy is asking to rise in you. Will you allow yourself to simply face the light and let what's yours find its way home? You may wake in the night at 1:11 or 4:44, see repeating numbers, feel drawn to places you've never visited. This is not superstition. This is synchronization. Your higher self, your spirit team, your creator, all whispering in unison, remember who you are. You're not entering a new season. You're stepping into a timeline that's been waiting for your awareness. This isn't your first time standing before this mountain, but this time you're climbing with fire in your bones, with wisdom in your hands, with heaven in your lungs. You're becoming magnetic. You don't need to run, convince, or plead. You simply need to be. Be still, be aligned, be whole. And the things that once seemed out of reach will now find you. Not because you chased them, but because you finally became the version of yourself they were designed to meet. And now, beloved chosen one, the remembering is complete. What stirred quietly in your soul has now roared into revelation. You no longer stand at the edge of awakening. You are in it, fully, boldly, eternally. The signs you've seen, the tears you've cried, the fire you've carried, none of it was random. It was rehearsal for this exact moment. You are not walking into the unknown. You are walking into what your soul always knew. You were born for this. You came not to follow, not to fade, but to flame. You are the divine interruption in a world asleep. You are the voice, the light, the crack where heaven breaks through. Every shift you felt, the dreams, the heat, the pressure, the longing, has led you here. And now you must decide, will you stay in the old version of safety, or will you rise into the new blueprint written on your spirit? The doors have opened. The codes have activated. This timeline will not wait. The portals you walk through in these coming days will determine the legacies you leave behind. So speak with fire, walk with holiness, rest without guilt, and love like eternity is watching, because it is. If you've felt alone in this journey, you're not. This space, this channel, this calling, it's a sanctuary for souls like yours. So if this message spoke to your spirit, if it stirred something ancient and sacred in you, I invite you to take action in the realm where it matters most. Like this video, so others can find it. Share it with someone whose soul needs to awaken. Comment below. Your voice matters more than you know. Subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss another divine moment. And if you feel led to sow back into this work, you can do so through super thanks. Every gesture, big or small, helps keep this sacred space burning bright. Whether you give or not, thank you, deeply, truly. Your presence here is already a gift. Your energy, your heart, your faith, they are felt, honored, and held with reverence. Now go. Walk like the heavens are watching because they are. Speak like the earth is listening because it is. And rise like your destiny is depending on it because it always has. May you walk in light. May your path be clear. May your spirit remain open, wild, and holy. And may you always, always remember you are chosen and you are becoming everything you were sent here to be. Amen.